There's nothing I can say he hasn't heard already. The first flight we took what, 13 hours, the first one, didn't it?
Oh, that was the first time I ever flew, Arthur, in the whole of my life.
We think there was trouble at Heathrow.
There was trouble. At Gatwick, love, we were at Gatwick, and they were all about with submachine guns, all the coppers, all of them. They chased after a bloke, didn't they?
Not then, no. I mean, we took it 11 years ago.
Oh.
And we think they weren't sure where the luggage was, so they emptied out all the planes and filled them up again. We were standing on the runway an hour, and then we had to...
He said he'd missed his slot, the pilot, or something, didn't he?
And then we landed in Canada. It was supposed to be a through flight, you know. We landed in bloody Canada. 13 hours it took us.
And when we got off the plane, a woman, you know, you have to queue to go through immigration, and a woman standing beside me said, I've been all over the world. She said, I've been to Russia, Australia, Africa, you name it, I've seen it. She said, and that is the worst flight I've ever been on. So I said to her, it was my first. So she said, oh my God, don't tell me you're going to walk back. I said, that's right.
Oh, that's not done.
And of course we were supposed to get down in daylight. So we weren't at all worried about finding a motel, though we'd never been there before and didn't know anywhere. Because this bloody plane was so late getting there, it was dark.
Yeah, you try going, landed in a foreign country where they drive on the other side of the road, and you've got a strange car, and you've never done it before.
In the dark, oh, it was terrible, terrible.
Oh, it's Nicole then.
She's 10. She's 10 and a bit. Yes, she was 10 in February. She's going to secondary school next year. She'll be 11 next February, so next September she'll be going to secondary school. She's a big girl too. She's as tall as Mandy. She really is.
I thought
amazing
she was still about
10.
I thought she was still about 2.
Yeah, no, Caitlin is 2. She was 2 last week.
Yeah, Andrew's.
Andrew's baby, yeah.
Are they both girls?
Eh?
Both girls?
No, the other one's a boy. Bryn, his name is the boy. He's 4.
Yeah.
And they're delightful children. We have them here every weekend, as I say, but
do you want some more coffee?
Yeah, that'd be nice, Dad, thanks.
Cheers.
No, Andrew's 25 now, and we haven't heard a word from Simon all the summer. Adam was supposed to be getting married in June, but you haven't got that running, have you?
Yeah. Yes, it is running.
Oh.
Hello,
well, they reckon it's going to be 99 this week, don't they? Before the week ends.
Somebody was saying on one of the channels, radio channels, that they were doing a kind of Los Angeles week, and they're saying you could win a trip to Los Angeles and the relative cool of Los Angeles, because it's much cooler over there than it is over here.
Yeah. Well, Christopher told me to check the temperature in Athens every day for him, like for his things, and that's been 88 all the week. But when I phoned him, he said it was so hot they couldn't breathe. He said the trouble was it's so dusty. There's dust everywhere and it flies up all the time, you know. So, can I get you something to eat? I've got sandwiches and I've got some little cakes.
Sorry, I'm having a liquid lunch at the moment.
Yeah, but if you're going straight to work, you'll want something, won't you?
No, I don't eat much at the moment. A liquid diet.
Yeah. Are you living with your mother
Well,
at the moment?
You can understand he's not eating much. He's getting really porky, isn't he?
Look who's talking!
And his father is.
The kettle black.
I've had longer to get this.
I have lost 5 stone in weight.
Good Lord, man.
5 stone.
How long?
With a great deal of difficulty. Not easy, believe me, but I'm on tablets. The doctor gives me tablets, which are supposed to help. I don't know if they do or not. But yes, I have actually lost 5 stone. Look.
In how long, Mum?
About 7 or 8 months, something like that.
Really? That's
about since
fantastic.
Christmas, yes.
5 stone.
Yeah, but I say it's a world of difference to fly when you're, not... the time we went to Turkey, 2 years back now, isn't it? 2 years in October. I was in misery, absolute misery, sitting like this because the seat was right on my knees all the time. Oh, I don't like them being up on those cushions. I don't like either of them being up on them. Never again. If I ever go again, it's got to be a direct flight.
Did it in Detroit too, didn't we? There's nothing I can say he hasn't heard already. Yeah, the first time we went to Florida, it was a one-off.
Yes, we were just going the once.
we did a lot. We went all over Florida, and we went on the paddle steamer and all the rest of it. And to some of the Disney things, Epcot we went to, didn't we?
Yeah.
All sorts. We did bloody well in about 2 weeks, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
And but that was it. We were only going the once.
Yes, I didn't like it. I didn't like the smells everywhere. I couldn't bear the smells. I kept saying to him, I can't stand it. It's a ghastly smell. It didn't matter where you went. There was a like dead body kind of smell.
Hoover
I hated
did
it.
a thing to give you 2 free flights if you bought a Hoover. 2 flights to Florida. Oh, we thought we'd have some of that. I mean, it wasn't the easiest thing in the world. You had to register every letter and everything to make certain they didn't fiddle you.
It took months, absolutely 7 or 8 months it took.
But of course, in the end, we got the 2 free flights, and
Threatened them with court action if they didn't give it to us. We did, didn't we?
yeah, and they'd got. It was rather funny, really. They'd picked up people from all over, Ireland, everywhere, and just got 1 plane full. I think that was it, all the persistent ones. And two lads were behind us, were in the Irish Army. Of course, we got talking to everybody on the flight. I mean, it's boring, all that time. And these 2 lads, they'd run out of fags, I think. Was it run out of fags?
Something like that.
And they didn't have any on the plane. So I gave them some fags, and they bought me some beer, because they did have some beer on the plane. And we...
Smoking on the plane?
Yeah, oh yes, you smoked on the
Used
plane
to,
then.
yeah. A couple
But
of years
not-
ago you could smoke
could-
on most flights.
You could smoke cigarettes, but not a pipe or cigars. Ask me another. But that was crackers. I mean, God knows why. But we had a good couple of weeks, didn't we?
Well, the first time we went, we got as far as Fort Lauderdale because that was the time we went on that water taxi. I mean, it's a long way from Kissimmee.
And the paddle steamer.
Yeah.
Well, we went all the way down to...
Homestead. We didn't go beyond Homestead,
yes,
did
we
that
did.
time?
We then went down the first quay
Oh, maybe, yes, yeah.
and came back. Of course, it's a single road, and you can see over the hedge. You can see water either side, and it's about 100 mile. So you begin to, after a while, you're looking at your petrol to see if you're going to last out or push it the last 50.
Well, one bridge they call the 7 Mile Bridge really is 7 miles long. It's amazing because between Miami and Key West is just a series of islands that is all linked by all these magnificent bridges. They're magnificent, they really are. I mean, Americans brag about everything, but they never tell you about all these wonderful bridges. Everywhere in Florida there's these wonderful bridges.
There's one on the west coast which goes right up in the air.
They call it the Sky Road or something like that.
Something like that.
There's a tunnel
And
that goes
you drive
through
out
there,
on
isn't
it,
there?
it just feels
No,
as
the
if there's
only tunnel you've
nothing
got
round your
is-
either side.
goes into
I've
Florida.
done that a couple of times. It's
from-
marvellous.
Goes into Florida from.
So if we'd gone there when we were young, like when probably
It's quite
before
long,
you were
the
born
tunnel,
or
yeah,
about
it's
that
bigger than
time,
the Channel Tunnel,
I
isn't it?
definitely would have
Well,
wanted to
no,
go
I
there
don't-
and live.
well, the
but
one
I
I'm
wouldn't do it
thinking of-
now.
You
But
The only
can't, Mum,
tunnel
because
I've
you can't
seen-
get a green card. Besides which,
well,
what
if you buy somewhere to live in, they more or less got to give you a green card, haven't they?
you can get
buy a house.
No, Mum, you can get a. I can't believe that, because you can get a house in Florida ever so cheap. You can get a house in Florida for like £50,000 or something, small change.
Yeah.
But you can't get a green card for £50,000.
It's being illegal immigrants.
That's what everybody says. Buy a house, and they've got to give you permission to live there. So.
Providing you don't want to work and you don't ask the state for anything, they have got no way of checking up on you.
Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah. So what would you do for Medicare? You couldn't afford Medicare.
No, we wouldn't go as things stand at the moment.
Fly
I mean,
back.
I think, like when I was 21, 25 or whatever, we
Yeah.
could have gone then and become American citizens eventually.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I forgot. Oh, that was even worse, that one. Oh, my God, they offloaded us and just left us. We hadn't got a clue where to go.
I don't know, I think I'm a bit claustrophobic. I'd definitely prefer to go to prison for a year than... I quite like changeovers, being trapped in a tube for long periods of time.
I always think I'm the world's worst air
nice to be able
passenger.
to have a pee without everything flying
Everyone
about.
says, are you afraid of flying? No, what I'm afraid of is crashing. But no, it's the claustrophobia that I can't bear. That's why I couldn't bear the Virgin flight. Everything inside the Virgin plane is red. All the upholstery, the walls, the carpets, everything brilliant, brilliant red. The seats are high. When you're sitting like that, the seat is way above your head, and each seat has got a miniature little television thingy in the back, and they regard that as a good advertising thing, which I thought was a pain. Instead of, like the television drops down.
And American Airlines did that too.
And I hated it. And because of the seats, you can't see behind or in front of you or anything. The claustrophobia is so much worse than it is if you can at least see what's happening in the rest of the plane. Oh, I hated every minute of it. I really hated that Virgin flight.
I think I'd spend a year in an aeroplane or a submarine or
But
something
the
like
staff were wonderful. The Virgin staff were the best we've ever had. They were absolutely superb. And the food was the best we've ever had on a plane too. Not that it was good, but I mean it was the best we've ever had.
Yeah.
I've always had nice food whenever I've had
KLM
food.
is the worst.
Yeah, KLM, the food was disgusting. It was inedible. I wouldn't feed my dogs on it. It was so bad.
But we came home on one plane some years ago, and it was just when they were having a panic about the foam.
Remember, there was that big burn in an aircraft in Birmingham at one thing.
Oh,
It was just after that, yeah.
And when you sat down, you realised you were sitting on the metal. They just left the
It
cloth
was a
there
wooden seat.
and the metal.
They had taken all the foam out and just left the wooden seat with a piece of fabric like that over the top of it. Nothing. Could you imagine sitting on that for 9 hours?
We were quite lucky when we were in China, when we went to Italy, because there was cheese in the meal. So, and Chinese people don't eat cheese, so everyone went, oh, cheese, just giving us all this cheese. Oh yeah, all right, we'll have it. We had quite a rich cheese diet.
No, the KLM food was these, like, if you could imagine a tube of what it was, I wouldn't begin. It looked like bread or pastry, but it wasn't, because I actually took it and I hit the seat in front like that with it and couldn't break it. So I don't know what it was like. I gave up. I didn't even try and get my teeth in it. Grandad did. He actually broke his, didn't you, in the end?
I had to.
It was disgusting.
I would have had 5 if they offered me then when I was in the aeroplane.
But,
Nice, but just small. That was the
But
worst
no,
thing about it.
I think the best flight we ever had was the Laker one, because the food was acceptable, not wonderful, but acceptable. The staff was superb. They
Laker
couldn't do
had-
enough for you.
It was like having an old-fashioned aeroplane.
Yeah.
They'd got a pump-up thing, electric pump-up thing in the middle of your back to make you a bit more comfortable. The food was on proper plates.
Yeah, knives and
with proper knives and
fork
forks.
and everything,
And,
Yes.
They're not allowed to do that anymore, Dad. When we went to Australia, we had to have plastic knives and forks until we got to the Middle East. After the Middle East, we could then have metal knives and forks.
And nail clippers. They took his nail clippers out of his bag, wouldn't let it on the plane, and then we got on the plane and they gave us bottled lager. I was thinking, what does more damage, nail clippers or a bottle?
Yeah, yeah,
Crazy.
absolutely, you're right, yeah. Broken bottles are
I
terrible
always
weapon.
carry a little
yeah.
knife. And it's only like that, but it's a look back. Cost me $1.
But they wouldn't let you take your penknife, would they? From
No, that's what I'm saying.
Gatwick, wasn't it? That
Look.
was, yeah.
They said, you can't take that. It's a look back.
They wouldn't let him have his nail clippers on.
Yeah.
Nail clippers.
And I said to the bloke, you keep it as a present from me. When I get to Kissimmee, I'll buy another one for $1. Oh, thank you very much, sir.
No, they said well, you can have it it can go in the hold and you can claim it back when you get to wherever we were going, Sanford or wherever it was, if you want to. He said, it's hardly worth a bother, is it, for $1?
They stole all my lighters as well when I came back from China. I bought about 5 really nice, like, I don't know, traffic lights going up and stuff like that, and they just sort of stole them all.
Yeah.
They wouldn't let me put them in my bag. Like checked them, but they took them out and took them away.
The other side of the aisle from me, he said,
When we come back from
When?
Kavos, we come through. My friend on the way to Kavos had gone through the metal detector with his camera on him. I don't know why, and it had gone off on the way there. On the way back, he went through in Kavos, and with the same camera, it didn't go off in Kavos, and the
It was
bloke was
turned off.
asleep. The bloke was actually asleep on the thing, fast asleep.
It was turned off. That's why.
Yep, turned off, and the only bloke checking anything was asleep.
At least mercifully it's only a short flight. So there, I think it was 3 hours or something. But Barney, no,
we're just getting off the plane then.
we
Yeah.
were there for his election, and we were in a restaurant, weren't we, on the morning of the election? Of course, Dad was fascinated. I mean, I find it all a bit boring.
As we were starting, I mean, where are you from? Oh, he said, England. He said, oh dear. I'm from Detroit. So I can tell you, this is the worst airport in the world. It's our rule that we start looking for a motel if we're on the road.
When we got on in China, my friend asked me though. I had one person ask me what London was like. What's London like then?
It's only the English that nobody gets on with.
And America as well.
Well, I was having a big row once. We were somewhere in America, and I mean, he started off as a wind-up because he was a French-American, out of the bloody swamps down the bottom end there.
Cajun, Dad.
Yeah, I'm proud of it, and I'm winding him up something rotten, and he was doing his nut, wasn't he?
Who?
That Cajun on that.
On that stall in the flea market, you mean?
And I said to him, listen, I don't have to stand here and take abuse from you. I can go to any country in the world and be hated. And that's about right, isn't it?
Actually, most Americans fall over themselves to be your friend. And,
They
Yeah.
do.
Well, I think we're brilliantly
astonishing,
clever.
The
really.
Chinese quite like us, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the only country in the world. I think Asia in general doesn't mind English. It's just Europe that hates us with a passion.
Well, I don't know. I get on with most everywhere in the world. People are really
Yeah.
friendly.
Individually,
Yeah.
all people are nice. It's en masse.
I said to
Yeah.
every American we've ever met has always fallen over themselves, haven't they, to do
Yeah.
no
Well,
matter
Americans
where
in
they are.
America, I find, are quite different to Americans anywhere else.
Well, absolutely.
Yes.
But if you look at the most Americans don't have passports.
No.
So 95% Americans never go anywhere.
Yeah.
They,
They don't even go to the next town, half of them.
Yeah, but if you go to Mexico or Canada, you don't need a passport. If you're American, you can just go without a passport.
Yeah.
So they don't. In America, there's just no call to have a passport. So they never. Most.
About 60% of them haven't signed on to vote.
I don't think that is quite as many as that, Dad.
Well, it is in Florida because I asked.
We
Oh, it
we
was
were
when
in
I was there.
Florida the year that Clinton was elected, and we went into this restaurant, and I said to one of the girls serving us something about, "Are you all going to vote?" And she said, "Oh no, there's nobody here on the staff who is even registered to vote." And I said, "Well, why is that then? Because it's your future, your life that is." She said, "Because Washington seems so far away to us, it could be another planet, because it's." But I said, yes, I agree with what you're saying about distance, but it affects your life just like it affects everybody else. But I think she said there was about 20 people actually on the staff of the restaurant because it was open, all the hours, and not one of them was registered to vote.
Well, they're probably all illegal immigrants, man.
No. She was a young, attractive, very
Blonde.
American golden girl. She was the one I was talking to, wasn't
It's
she?
Florida.
In
Yeah.
Florida,
But
yes.
they all got struck off by Bush, didn't they? That's probably why.
No. In nearly all the stores now, you're served by the what they call Latinos, which is the illegal immigrants. And half the time, I mean, we went into one restaurant inside a store, didn't we? And we couldn't make her understand at all what we wanted.
But
She said to me, "Speak English." So I said, "Well, what do you think I'm speaking?" She meant American.
on our way south in Florida, and we stopped off at this restaurant, and 4 o'clock, we find somewhere to book in. So this restaurant, couldn't see anywhere nearby. So I said to the waitress, is there a shopping centre and motels and things like that anywhere near here? She said, yes, that way. Well, that was the way we'd just come. I said, well, what about that way? I've never been that way. I've never been that way.
I know someone who's never left Sheffield. I've met a few people in Sheffield who've never left Sheffield.
Yeah.
Well, you see,
What's Rotherham like? I don't know. Grimsby? No, don't know.
my grandmother had ever been outside London in her entire life. My mother never had until 1 year to Switzerland, another year to, was it?
Spain.
No. Was it one of the holiday camps in the north somewhere?
Oh, yeah,
Not Butlin,
Pontins.
Pontins or something. And that was the first time she'd ever been away from home to spend a night away from her own bed and all the rest of it. People in those days they never had the money to do it apart from anything else. Never mind the inclination.
I've had people. It's only 150 miles away. You get on a train to find out.
Yes, yeah, I believe
Yeah, but you
it.
can't
yes.
find out what
Yeah.
London's like, I'm sorry, because London is a vast place.
It's just
I mean,
a series of
When
villages,
did
isn't
you
it,
last go to
London?
Dulwich Village?
Yeah,
Have you seen the
No.
cows?
yeah. I don't think.
It was crunching as I walked. And all the
My sisters got grown up. They took up.
houses were up to the pavement, and there was a little half circle of white pavement by each front door where the housewife had cleaned it. And it crunched as you went along. And Rotherham was all fabric. They made all fabrics. And I've been in one of the fabric, the mills type places, which looked like a barn to me. And they were using it for somewhere else, but they were made so that there was water condensing all the time, because it was good for the milling. And when you walked in this place, there was water running down the walls, dripping everywhere.
Sam was telling me
They lived in it.
Sam was telling me when he was younger in Wales that his feet used to stick to the floor. The floor was black, and your feet used to stick to the floor as you were walking along.
Yeah. I remember Wales, some of the cities in Wales. Cardiff I went to quite a lot. And Tiger Bay I've been to. I've been canvassing around Tiger Bay. I was down there for a few weeks, sorting out a factory, and they got a by-election on, so I went and saw the Labour Party, and they asked me to go canvassing for them and asked me to speak. And I ended up speaking at a women's meeting, and it was when the Clean Food Act was coming in, I was talking about that. And afterwards it was a cup of tea and a biscuit. And one of the ladies came up and she said, "Oh, it was lovely to hear you speak. I didn't understand a word you said, but it was lovely."
But the thing
Well, I
is,
tell you what, the
we have
Welsh
always
girls
been
in the factory
amazed
would
when
eat you
we've been
alive.
abroad, talking to people who don't know the first thing about England. All American people think that you can get from London to Glasgow in an hour. They're all amazed when you tell them it takes hours, and we always used to do it with an overnight stop and everything, They can't believe that, but it's just a tiny little island, They think, because they don't, in America, they never tell you how many miles something is. If you say, I'm going to such and such a place, that's 3 hours on the road, not 90 miles or whatever it might be. It's always 3 hours or 5 hours or whatever, hour and a half or whatever it happens to be.
I know that that's an inch, and I'll bet anybody you like, you can put a ruler on that, and that is exactly an inch. Now, I think that's 5 centimetres, but I wouldn't guarantee it.
2.4
5
centimetres.
millimetres, 1 centimetre, I mean,
2.4 centimetres, Dad.
to an inch.
Yeah.
That's about 2.4.
Yeah, 2.4 centimetres or
Andrew-
24 millimetres.
Yeah.
Andrew came home from school one day, you know, and said he needed a piece of material for a project they were doing at the school, and he wanted something new. So I went upstairs and had a rake, and I found a piece of material and said, I forget now what he said, it had to be 10 centimetres square or something. So I sent this piece of material which I had, which was brand new. When I saw the teacher the next day, she said, oh, thank you, Mrs. Brind, it was so good of you, you sent enough for the whole class. Lindsay one day, what's 10 centimetres in relation to an inch, Lindsay? She said, what's an inch, Mum? I remember when she was must have been about 5, and she was taken to the zoo with her school on a class outing, how they have them. And when she brought back the work to show me, it was something about the elephant was 3 centimetres high, and I
3
said, oh
metres.
my God, 3 metres, whatever. God help us, how much is that in pounds, shillings and pence, you know? It defeats me. I can cope with the money all right, just about now after these years, but
Well,
I
they're
can't
just gonna
do.
they're gonna change, Mum. Another
Oh, yeah?
5 years and it's all gonna be euros.
Oh, well, I should be gone by then, I expect, Jonathan.
Well, it doesn't
so
I
matter,
sure.
suppose
really.
so. How old was your mum when she died?
They were all into their 80s, a whole generation, every last one of
Yeah,
them.
how old was she? I think she was 86,
I
wasn't
don't
she?
know. She was about. If she was alive now, she'd be about 104. And I think she's been dead about 10 years. Is it? No, it's more than that. When we first came here, wasn't it? Well, no, it was June that died when we first came here, wasn't it?
I have the faintest idea.
Yes. So she lived till
Finished
she
that.
was
Do you want another one?
88 or 89, I should think. But all her sisters lived
Well,
to their
that-
80s.
That gives you a long time, doesn't it?
Well, what about it? June's already gone. Dawn is already gone, and Jean is gone. Jean and
yeah, but Jean smoked like a chimney,
yeah.
and June got a embolism, which was undoubtedly caused by her medication,
Yeah.
which was
Constant, yeah.
an absolute murder, really.
Yeah.
You
Dawn
can't
smoked
count
like
those.
a chimney
I'll have a
too,
bottle.
yeah,
Yeah,
so I
well,
grant
And
that.
yours are in the bottom
You-
of the
you
fridge.
used to
Mine-
I'm the
smoke.
oldest one left alive now in my generation.
You used to smoke a bit, but it was like
No,
one cigarette
10
a
a
day.
week or something.
Do I drink?
Yes, darling. What?
The first flight we took, that's a good idea.
They make very good dusters, Arthur, actually. They make far better dusters than any duster you
Actually,
can buy.
some of them look brand new.
Yeah, that was what I was saying, most of them are fairly new, I would guess.
I don't think Arthur does a lot of dusting.
Oh, you surprised me. You mean say doesn't do all the housework for his
sorry,
dear
are
mother?
you calling me messy? This man's calling me messy. You want to see how tidy the house is since you've been gone?
Actually, I was always amazed. He always did more for your mother than I ever thought he would. Yeah.
You want to see his
And
flat
Simon's
out?
the same. Because I mean, when they were all young, their father never did anything in the house ever. He didn't lift a cup even. He does now all the time, but he didn't in those days when they were all small. And I was quite surprised to see. I mean, Simon will turn to and do the vacuuming and dust and all the things, you know, that thing. But
The time he was 14, no, earlier than, about 14, I was a convener.
he was
Which,
always working outside the house, you see. That was the thing.
They,
Never there when he was
so when the
wanted,
bed, the
Arthur.
buggers would
You
get
could
me
be
up,
absolutely
because there was something
100%
going on.
sure that
In the pub.
Never
No.
tell you in the pub.
In those days, Dad said he had he got what was it, yellow fever, glandular fever,
Yeah.
in the 1950s, or was it 1950s? I guess maybe
No,
early
later than
1960s, maybe early 1960s. And he said that he was banned for life from drinking alcohol, that he could never drink it again.
Yeah.
But about 20 years ago, you started drinking again, didn't you?
Yeah. When I went to Nabisco's, really. That's 30 years ago, isn't
Why
it?
did they ban you from drinking for glandular fever?
Well,
No,
because
it was rheumatic fever.
rheumatic fever, yeah.
I had glandular fever afterwards when I started drinking.
your grandfather only ever has things that couldn't be cured in those days. He had rheumatic fever, and the doctor came out and he said to me, "I'm sorry, Mrs. Bryn, there's nothing I can do, no drugs, nothing help. All he can do is lie in bed and move as little as possible and take aspirin, calcium aspirin for the pain. That's all you can do. There's no treatment." Right. This is me with 4 small children, one of them a young baby. Christopher was about 8 or 9 months old. and I had to cope with looking after him and all the rest of it, and the 4 kids in an upstairs flat, up 4 flights of stairs, would you believe?
It's a boat.
And I just had to get on with it. Of course I did. We just had to live each day as it came.
Ah, but
And then later on, when he had the glandular fever, it was a different. Now I know what I had. You had hepatitis next, didn't you? The doctor came in and he looked at him like that. So he said to me, "He's got hepatitis, but it's you I'm sorry for. I suppose you're going to have to live with him while he's going to." So I said, "What can we do?" No, there's no treatment. No treatment. All you can do is put him on a fat-free diet. He's not allowed to have anything at all with any fat in it. So there I am. By this time, I've got 5 small children trying to cope with feeding
I wasn't
him.
completely crippled.
So that was in where? Because
That was at where, yeah.
Lindsay was born at where?
Lindsay was, yes. Christopher was
remember
about
that
a
at
year
all.
old when we went there, yes.
Was that when
to you
Dad
about
lost his job?
13? Yeah.
Was that when Dad lost his job?
No, it was after that. The bad temper didn't help, mind you. But I didn't
And-
lose it. I told him to stuff it.
Yeah.
Then he had a glandular fever.
Which was
the
a
doctor said
mistake.
to him, "Sorry, there's no treatment, or you can just wait, rest as much as you can and wait." I said, "Oh my God, one of these days you're going to have somebody that needs treatment."
It certainly was that, because the settlement they would have given you would have included a fair sum for the house.
Yeah.
In order for them to get it back, you should
Yeah.
have just not cooperated with them.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I
We were
was
glad
so,
to see the back of it,
It
Jonathan.
was that bloody Cohen. I was so pissed off with him. It was. I mean, and it's a little bit of a long story.
You
but-
don't treat people who you're pissed off with by giving them everything they want
No.
before they start. You actually make life difficult for them.
The factory shut because they couldn't cope. They couldn't cope. I mean, they brought a bloke over from Germany, from the makers of the machinery,
Yeah.
and
Orenco.
no, this was the big one, which I can't remember the name of, but he came in. He was going to sort it all out. You know, he didn't know what he was talking about, and the clue, and the machine. It was an enormous machine, half the size of this garden, and it stopped cutting. And he said, I said, "You better fix it." And he said, "Have you got any new knives?" I said, "Being sharpened." Oh. What do I do now? I said, "Well, you're the expert." So by this time he'd got, because if that stopped, panic. Well, it was vast quantities it was producing.
Yeah.
And all the bosses were around him by now. And I said to them, "I'll tell you what I'll do. You lot, go out that door, walk around this building, and walk back in the door, and I'll have it running. Can't we watch? No, you bloody can't. Want it to stay like that? You stay here." I had nothing else I could do. They walked around the building, of course, it took me 2 minutes and got it going. And he begged me on his knees to tell me what he... "No, I'm not bloody telling you. You are sodding Cohen. He's the one who screwed things up. And he used to come down once a week, this damn man. He bought into the firm, one of the Cohens, Henry. He was a wheat factor. And I'd got machines on 3 floors. And I'd walk around the floors, I'd see girls crying. And it was this bastard. And
That was what pissed you off the most, really, wasn't it? The way he treated all the girls.
And,
He couldn't bear it.
I mean, he had nothing to complain about. The auditors had been into that factory because they swore you couldn't get that much production out of those machines. They'd been in to investigate. They'd brought in, this time it was Orenco, they'd brought in Orenco to see how I did it. And all I did was, it was only goodwill, basically.
Yeah.
Mr. Brush
When we-
said, didn't
when
he?
we were in Bow,
They told me he mended
I
the
even used to buy
machines
ice cream
with string
runs
and chewing
send all the
gum.
girls out
He said,
in
but
the
it
yard,
seems to me that's
buy
a
an
very
ice
good
cream,
thing.
you know, they'd work their socks off for you, you know. I'd say we've got to do so many today because the lawyer will be here first thing in the morning. They'd stay on half an hour, no pay, just to get it finished, right? And then that bastard came around and screwing it all. I could have killed him.
there was an emergency or anything happened, he was never there, never.